The euro area is in deep crisis today, the likes of which are unprecedented in world economic history. Now, the euro project was always a very ambitious project because in the hope that the introduction of a common currency would deliver prosperity and growth across all of Europe, a number of crucial design flaws in the system were overlooked. For example, the countries of the euro area do not constitute an optimal currency area. So they are not very economically integrated. They face asymmetric shocks, which means that they are on different economic trajectories. Labor is not very mobile across these countries. If labor mobility were high, then some of the asymmetry in the shocks could be counterbalanced or absorbed through labor flowing from one country to another. And finally, there is no fiscal equalization scheme or interpersonal transfer mechanism that would allow surplus countries to continue to finance deficit countries in case things should go wrong. Now, the architects of the euro system were not blind to these defects, but instead of instituting a surplus recycling mechanism, they instead instituted a no bailout clause which threatened deficit countries with default should things go wrong. But despite instituting the no bailout clause, the architects of the euro system did not specify specific procedures that would be followed if a default were to happen. So there were no guidelines as to how a default would be worked out. So the result was that financial markets basically did not take the no bailout clause seriously. And the government bonds issued by laggard countries like Greece, Spain, and Portugal were pretty much accorded the same status as government bonds issued by the stronger countries like Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. When the subprime crisis in the US broke in 2008, it quickly moved to Europe. Financial markets panicked, and the laggard countries like Greece, Portugal, and Spain were in deep trouble. A real opportunity then became available for the architects of the euro system to correct the design flaws that were in the system. But instead of correcting the design flaws, the ECB, the European Central Bank that is, and the EU, the European Union, decided to treat the problem as if it were an illiquidity problem rather than an insolvency problem, which is what it really was. The many rescue efforts that have been mounted since 2009 to save the euro system have in fact proved counterproductive. They have worsened the crisis and in fact perpetuated the flaws in the design of the euro. So a solution to the crisis today would involve a proper look at the design flaws. Unfortunately, this means some pain for the laggard countries as well as for the rest of the euro area. Yes, Spain, Portugal, Greece, these countries may require some debt forgiveness, but they also may require to exit the euro, if only temporarily, if the system is to survive. But insofar as the current talks about how to save the euro system are not taking the possibility of an exit into consideration, the crisis is very much likely to persist.